Oh, that's fine.
Jen!
Can everybody hear me okay? There are seats out here in the front if anybody would like to have a seat. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Robert St. John. I'm the commander of Montgomery Post 912. Thank you all for participating in this year's Veterans Day ceremonies. Again this year, our local veterans organizations decided to combine our efforts to bring about a greater awareness of the sacrifices of all veterans and their families of all wars, especially the ongoing war on terrorism in Iraq and Afghanistan. At this time, I'd like to welcome my fellow comrades and guests, Father Del Bell from St. Mary's Church in Champlain, the Honorable George Rivers, Mayor of the Village of Rouses Point, members of the Great Chazy River VFW Post 1418, Phil Beanie as Commander, 1418 Ladies Auxiliary, Lucy Mayo President, members of VFW Post 8722, Commander John Cooper, members of the American Legion Post 767, Champlain, Al Strack, Commander, Post 767 Ladies Auxiliary, Doris Valenzi, President. Members of the Ladies Auxiliary, American Legion Montgomery Post 912, Amber St. John, President. Members of the Sons of the American Legion, Squadron 912, Ben Arnold, Commander. Members of the American Legion Montgomery Post 912, which I'm extremely proud to be Commander. And now Father Del Bell will lead us in the invocation. Uncovered.
Almighty Father, we ask you on this Veterans Day to bless all those who have served our country in its armed forces. Especially we ask you to remember those who are serving now in Iraq and Afghanistan. Keep them safe, O Lord, and all those who have given their lives so that we might be free. Remember those who were wounded. Remember those who gave up jobs and families to serve. May we always be grateful for their sacrifice. We ask this blessing in your name, O Lord. Amen.
Amen. Please stay uncovered for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Al Strack.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recover. At this time, we'll have opening remarks. First officer is Phil Beanie.
If there be glory in war, it is the almost incredible spirit which brings it forth. Those who offered their lives sacrificed their all with glorious abandon. Heroism becomes contagious. Yet too in warfare, too often greed and brutality are infectious. Too often it is these later which persist in the peace that follows. Let us strive to see the same spirit of self-sacrifice that is cultivated in war carry over and be exhibited in peace. It behooves us to raise the new standards of success, to inspire our youth in peace as youth has been inspired in war. Public honor must be given, whereby public honor is due, not to manipulators of a market, the seeker after profit, power, or position, but rather let us honor the heroes of science who alleviate human suffering and carry to greater heights the standards of civilization. President JFK once said, and I quote, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." Let us honor those who in public seek service seek not which they may secure from the nation, but how much they can give. Let us also honor those who devoted their lives to that education, which will lead our children to live and laugh and learn and love, as we have only dreamed of doing. Let us honor those veterans who carried into ordinary affairs of life a noble idealism and a sincere capacity for self-devotion. Let us translate the devotion of war into a devotion of peace. Let us have a will to live as well as to die for our country.
Thank you, Phil. Our second speaker will be Linda Yell, who is one of our women veterans.
The hurts of war fall alike upon those who wear the same uniform, no matter how they may differ in race, creed, or culture. Those who fight together suffer together to achieve a common aim. In the similarity of battle dress, there is a common denominator, a common purpose, the sharing of danger and suffering which comes in time of war, a tolerance which adds strength to the cause. As we put aside the brown and blue and green fabrics that made us one people on the battlefields, we can hold in our minds that tolerance we have achieved. In tolerance there is progress toward a better and a happier world.
Thank you, Linda. Our third speaker is the First Vice Montgomery 912 Ladies Auxiliary, Janice St. John.
The waging of war involves more than just the combatants that fight to the death on the field of battle. The fighting forces begin at the fireside and in our hometowns. The repercussions of war's terrible brutality have chilled the heart and dimmed the hopes and dreams of many a loved one left behind on the home front. While the horrors of the battlefield may not have been our experience, we have lived with the terrifying loneliness created to answer an aggressor's challenge. In waging war, we have moved forward with a unity of purpose which made us strong, forgetting pettiness, egotism, and pride. Our hearts beat in tune with those in other nations fighting for freedom and the dignity and opportunity of mankind. In our constant conquest for an honorable world peace, there is need for unity of purpose if we truly are to move toward a brighter tomorrow.
Thank you, Jan. In a celebrity-obsessed culture where shows like Dancing with the Stars and American Idol generate large followings, it is important to remember just who the real stars of America are. Commentator Ben Stein wrote several years ago, and I quote, "The real star is the U.S. soldier who was sent to disarm a bomb next to the road north of Baghdad. He approached it and the bomb went off and killed him. A real star, the kind who haunts my memory night and day, is the U.S. soldier in Baghdad who saw a little girl playing with a piece of unexploded ordnance on a street near where he was guarding a station. He pushed her aside and threw himself on it, just as it exploded. He left a family in California and left a little girl alive in Baghdad." End of quote. Veterans Day is a time to honor not just the heroes that Mr. Stein describes, but in fact all the outstanding men and women who served in our nation's armed forces since our founding more than 234 years ago. President Calvin Coolidge was known as Silent Cal because he didn't say very much, but he was positively profound when he said, "The nation which forgets its defenders will be itself forgotten." Not all veterans have seen war, but a common bond that they share is an oath in which they expressed their willingness to die defending this nation. Perhaps most significant in preserving our way of life are the battles that America does not have to fight. because those who wish us harm slink away in the fear of the Coast Guard cutter, the Navy aircraft carrier, or the Army soldier on patrol. They have heard the stories of great American heroes like the late Jack Lucas, who earned a Medal of Honor fighting on Iwo Jima at age 17. Although he lied about his age to enlist in the Marine Corps, his family, friends, and classmates were properly awestruck when he enrolled in high school after World War II, already possessing the nation's highest military decoration. The valor that defined warriors from previous generations continues today. Thousands of people lined the streets of Fitzgerald, Georgia on October 6th to pay tribute to Senior Airman Michael Burris. A member of an Air Force explosive ordnance disposal team, Burris made the supreme sacrifice on September 21st in Kandahar, Afghanistan. He died at the age of 23 because of wounds inflicted by an IED. He leaves behind a wife and a 1-year-old daughter. We must be there to support not just the families of the fallen, but also the loved ones of those still deployed and those who return permanently changed by the wounds of war. While we are happy to be here today to express our appreciation for our veterans, true appreciation is expressed through deeds and not words. If you are an employer, give extra weight to the experience and skills of the sailor turned job applicant. Veterans preference is a requirement for government jobs, but it is also smart business for the private sector as well. When an American Legion auxiliary member asks for a donation for a poppy, remember the Korean War veteran who's in a hospital bed. When a member of Congress complains about the cost of a veterans program, remind the lawmaker of the cost of being a veteran. And don't underestimate the power of simply saying thank you to veterans that you encounter. There are approximately 23 million living Americans that have earned the title, including those who continue to serve in uniform. According to recent U.S. Army statistics, more than 665,000 active duty soldiers have deployed for a year of combat in the global war on terrorism, and nearly 300,000 active duty soldiers have deployed more than twice. DoD recently estimated that nearly 40,000 U.S. service personnel have been wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan since the hostilities began. And while the military is undoubtedly stretched thin, the burden is shared by both men and women. Women are major contributors to our military presence in Iraq and Afghanistan, and many have given their lives in the war on terrorism. The VA must recognize the unique needs of our women veterans. They need to adequately treat breast and cervical cancer, as well as the trauma that resulted from domestic violence, sexual harassment, and assault. America is home to 1.2 million women veterans, and they deserve our support. It is tragic that the men and women who allow us to be safe in our homes are often without homes themselves when they shed their uniforms. 23% of America's homeless population are veterans. 89% of these homeless veterans were honorably discharged, and 47% served during the Vietnam War. America's veterans have made great sacrifices for their country. These costs are often included long separations from their families, missing births of their children, freezing in sub-zero temperatures, exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam, losing limbs, and far too often losing their lives. While America owes these heroes a debt that cannot be fully repaid, showing our appreciation is the least we can do. American Legion National Commander Jimmy Foster calls on members of the American Legion to be saved. That's SAVED, which is serving America's veterans every day. Whether it's welcoming veterans home from deployment or volunteering at a local VA hospital, there is no shortage of opportunities to assist those who have given so much for their country. In spite of the sacrifices that nearly all veterans have made and the horrors that some have experienced, the overwhelming majority are proud to have served. 19th century British philosopher John Stuart Mill summed up the necessity of this special group of people when he wrote, "War is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. The decayed state of moral and patriotic feeling which thinks that nothing is worth war is much worse. The person who has nothing to fight for and willing to fight for, nothing is more important than his own personal safety, is a miserable creature and has no chance of being free unless made and kept so by the exertions of better men than himself." Mill had it right. Fortunately for all of us, America has been blessed throughout its history by many such men and women. God bless America, and God bless our veterans. We will now salute the veterans of all wars.
Fire squad. Hold on. Ready. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire. Freeze it. Up. Order. Arm. Parade.
Father Delbell will now lead us in benediction. Uncover.
Almighty Father, again we thank you for the sacrifice and service of our armed forces, past and present. We ask you to keep them safe. We ask you to bless them and to bless their families. We ask you also to bless all those here today and grant us safe trips home. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Cover. Please join us in singing God Bless America. God bless America, land that I love. Beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. This will conclude our activities here. You're all invited to a luncheon over at St. Patrick's Parish Center, located on Liberty Street, which is just up from the village offices, and to your left. You're all welcome to go. Thank you for being here. Again, God bless America, and God bless our veterans. Thank you.
1, 2, 3.